Good morning. Welcome to Lake Country Unitarian Universalist Church. My name's Carrie Duma. I'm your worship leader today. My pronouns are she and her. Welcome to this morning, to this day, and to this opportunity to be together in community, which is a time of joy, comfort, and sometimes challenges. This Unitarian Universalist congregation is a place where we come to learn more about being human. We're not here because we've figured out life's questions or because we think we've got it right. We come here to learn more about being in relationship together, how to listen, how to forgive, how to be vulnerable, and how to create trust and compassion in one another.
Welcome. Welcome all who seek renewal in a weary world. Welcome all who come with love and energy to share. Welcome to those who worry for the future. Welcome each one who is grateful for today. Know that in this place you are not alone. In community we share our strength with one another, and we keep the flame of love burning bright. Last week, I attended the family reunion of my birth family, and I met dozens of aunts, uncles, and cousins for the first time in my life. Prior to finding my birth mom about 9 years ago, I had no sense of where I came from prior to my arrival on this planet. And I never really gave that reality much thought until I found the Unitarian Universalist Church later in my life. And of the many unexpected surprises I discovered once I became a UU, one of the biggest was that without connection to my actual ancestors, I really had no sense of where my life fit in to the larger arc of human history. Studying the history of this chosen faith tradition with a lineage that stretches back thousands of years really helped me to fit the single puzzle piece that is my life into that complex, ever-evolving tapestry of our human story. The sense of community I found in that Seattle-based UU church was another thing I didn't realize was missing in my life until I found it. Beyond work and my spouse, there weren't really any other spaces where I felt like I belonged to something larger than myself. So I've now found and connected with my family of origin, and this fact is helping me to develop a connection to something larger as well. But at this point in my life, it's actually my UU faith that feeds and grounds my life even more. Today's sermon is about what it means to belong, and more specifically, how this faith can become a space of a belonging for anyone that wanders into our doors. There are many in this room, I see your faces, I know you well. There are many in this room that have been showing up here for more than 25 years. And for others, it might be your first time here. And if that be the case, I hope you felt a sense of welcome as soon as you walked through our doors. And I hope you heard that message loud and clear at the beginning of this service. We take welcoming and belonging pretty seriously here. But you may be wondering, do I really belong here? How can you know for sure? What does it actually mean to belong to this particular faith community? Does it mean you can just believe whatever you want? Does it mean you can do whatever you want without regard to the impact of your actions? Does it mean we always have to get along? And does it mean we always have to agree about everything? I'm about to argue that the answer to these questions are no, 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 and absolutely not. There are actually two aspects of our shared UU beliefs that seem to be contradictory, that speak directly to belonging, but need to be wrestled with. During our recent board retreat, I directed the board members' attention to two different paragraphs of Article 2 of our UUA bylaws. Can you bring up the first slide there? Thank you very much. First, our democratically created bylaws state, congregations may establish statements of purpose, covenants or bonds of union, so long as they do not require that members adhere to a particular creed. We are a very independent bunch. That is part of our history. And secondly, we strive to be an association of congregations that truly welcomes all persons who share our values. And I could tell the board members really wrestled with that phrase, who share our values. Isn't that the same thing as demanding adherence to a creed? This faith is ultimately nothing more than a holder and a container of ideas. We call this faith a living tradition. It draws wisdom from the past while challenging us to compare those passed down lessons with what we have learned more recently and also where we are in this moment in history. One of our lessons teaches us that revelation is not sealed. Life is always changing and evolving. We do need to learn the relevant lessons of those that came before, test them against what we believe to be true now, adapt as needed, and then pass on to the next generation, which we will then encourage to do the same. That's it. This faith is a container that holds a set of collectively agreed upon ideas that remain willing to be challenged and adapted as needed. So, do you belong here? Part of the responsibility you agree to take on when you decide to become a member of a UU congregation, as stated in our recently updated UU value titled Pluralism, is a promise to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. That pluralism value goes on to say, we embrace differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. The principles many of us grew up with used to be very individualized. Notice how our collective added a few words that now compel us to challenge our beliefs within community. So, do you belong here? The Unitarian half of our faith has always called upon us to wrestle with questions like this because nothing is constant but change. And where this line is actually changes constantly. If you want a faith that just tells you what to believe and expects you to just get in line, you are surely welcomed here, but I can't promise that everything you hear from me will align exactly with your perspectives. This faith challenges us to put in our own work and to come to our own conclusions, and then to learn the skills needed to test our beliefs in the hot cauldron of disagreement. You don't have to follow that path. But I can tell you, and the rest of us, you will get a lot more out of this faith if you are willing to try. I'd like to give you a historical example of what this work looks like to help inform our wonderings in this about this question in light of current events. Prior to World War II, the original countries that formed the alliance against Hitler and Nazi Germany were all grounded in the concept of democracy and generally bandied together against the rise of the stated evils of communism. But then a threat emerged, a threat that was deemed so great to humanity that it became clear to some that at this moment in history, we could either cling to our professed ideals while Hitler went about altering the entire world order, or we could form new alliances with a country like Russia, who we used to label as our enemy. The Allies made a decision to realign our allegiances for a larger ideal, and for a brief moment we became aligned with communist Russia. This new alignment served its purposes, and the Nazis were defeated. And soon after that, though, our differences reemerged and Russia and the democratic governments once again diverged. Had the Allied forces not been willing to challenge themselves to find allegiance with others whose beliefs they thought were even radically different than their own, we would likely live in a very different world today. I believe this moment in history is likely to challenge us in many similar ways. Progressive ideologies continually challenge us to expand our perspective. The counterculture revolution of the 60s, which many in this room and in UU churches around the country were a part of, successfully challenged and upended many static ways of thinking that in some ways had served humanity up to that point, but whose limits were in hindsight easily visible. White men held all of the power. The world was set up to cater to their whims, and few questioned that's just the way things are. Women, people of color, immigrants, the differently abled, LGBTQ plus folks, and others were in many ways both overt and subtle, barred from access to any forms of power. Each of those groups fought, and in some cases won, increased representation at the tables where that power was shared. Now, those gains were real, but they were in no way equal or universal. And it remained clear to many that hold those identities that true equality and access to power are still not universal and remain under constant threat by those that believe things were better before. So here we are today at this moment in history asking this question: what does it mean to belong as a member of this faith tradition? I'll tell you what I think it means from that example I shared about Russia. If a candidate that had seemed more aligned with my progressive beliefs had been elected in the last presidential election, then I might likely have continued to challenge this community to continue the work that we had been doing over the last few years under the heading of widening the circle. Many progressives listening to the concerns of our friends and neighbors had aligned themselves with a movement to continue to expand many of the rights and privileges that other historically marginalized communities had begun to enjoy. This work was simply the next natural progression of the work of the activists that had come before us. The shared UU belief that each individual has inherent worth and dignity has historically challenged us to stand up for our neighbors when we realized that access to what this country has defined as inalienable rights were being blocked. Many profess this basic belief, but as more and more folks began demanding more and more access, large swaths of our population began to push back. Many debates began happening even in UU circles about how much is too much for folks to reasonably expect. The preamble of our Constitution states to promote the general welfare. Where should the line for that concept be drawn? These are all good discussions, and if you're open to holding this tension while it is being discussed, or even better, being part of that debate, then you will probably feel at home in this faith. But if you insist that your way is the right way and the only way, well, you may feel at home here in regards to the things that align with your beliefs, but your challenge will be to hold that tension if it seems that the majority here hold beliefs that are a little bit different than yours. Dissent is most assuredly welcomed here. Dissent may not be something that everyone is willing or able to hold, and although dissenters are most assuredly welcomed, it is possible that some may decide that this isn't the right faith for them, and they may choose on their own to leave. No matter, those that choose to leave are always welcome to come back, because during their time away, they will have changed, and perhaps we will have changed, and perhaps now their experience might be different. You've probably all heard this phrase before. Don't ever discuss politics or sex or religion. That is a message that is pushed by those in power that don't want their agenda to ever be effectively challenged. I'm going to say that again. Don't ever discuss sex, religion, or politics is a message pushed by those in power that don't want their agenda to ever be effectively challenged. As citizens in a free democracy, we are above the president on the org chart. And if we don't learn and practice the skills needed to engage in vigorous debate on issues while maintaining relationships with our fellow citizens, then we are not taking the responsibility for our job, and we deserve whatever scraps the self-interested politicians are willing to throw our way. This is a primary focus of this faith tradition and my ministry, teaching critical thinking and dialogue skills to kids and adults, and then practicing these skills with others so that our community is producing thoughtful, well-informed, effective citizens of the world. Which brings us to today. It is clear to me from what I see on the news that many would prefer to go back to the way things were, when the hierarchies were clear and white men were unquestionably at the top of the pecking order. And given that I inhabit this body, I get it. It would be lovely if you all believed everything I did and simply got in line obediently behind me. Oh my goodness, that would be so much easier. Except, I have developed deep relationships with all types of folks, with all types of different histories. And the one thing that has become obvious to me is that my perspective, no matter how hard I work to expand it, will always be limited in its scope. My explorations have led me to believe that all natural systems are made stronger through diversity, not in spite of it. Monocultures are nowhere near as resilient as natural ecosystems that contain an abundance of differences. The challenges humanity faces now will not allow me to go back to the monolithic ways that have created the environmental degradation and wealth inequalities that exist today. So, do you belong here? What if you've experienced so much trauma in your life that the idea of debating your ideas with someone sounds terrifying? Of course you belong here. Over and above what many here are working towards collectively, the overarching umbrella is community. If you need the support of community just to garnish the strength to face the world, you belong here. I hope that you will find support here that you need to heal the wounds on your soul. What if your mind is willing, but your body is currently less abled? Perhaps you have worked tirelessly your whole life, and you just have little left to give. What if your legs don't work so well, or your eyes, or your ears? Do you belong here? Yes, you do. Contribute what you can. Share with the rest of us what your challenges have taught you. Be as vulnerable as you can, and allow another in this community to practice support and grace. What if you have loud kids that run around the sanctuary while we're trying to worship together? Do you still belong here? Oh my gosh, yes, both you and your children belong here. Parenting is hard work and should never be attempted alone. Help us support you while you work to help your child find their way in the world. Let us be a sanctuary where you find the grounding and respite you need to remain present and grounded for your children, even if it sometimes seems that their main objective in life is to push your very last button. What if you're an adult that really likes to push other people's buttons? Are you welcomed here? Absolutely. Each of us on our way to adulthood has developed different strategies to help us get what we need in life. This faith compels us to meet each person where they are with compassion and curiosity. Rather than trying to fix everyone around us, this faith compels us to view the challenging folks we meet as teachers. Each person that is here offers us an opportunity to test our assumptions and to identify the parts of ourselves that are triggered by different behaviors in a way that sometimes can make us react in ways that we wish that we didn't. If you are a challenging person to deal with, you belong here. We are grateful for the lessons your presence here offers us all. What if the faith tradition of your upbringing or the communities you live with have told you that who you feel drawn to love is wrong? Do you belong here? My goodness, absolutely 100% you belong here. If you are willing, there is no doubt limitless skills that you have learned to safely navigate a world that hasn't always embraced you. We need those lessons because we are a people whose beliefs frequently fall out of the mainstream of society. Please keep coming here and teach us what you've learned so that we may be strengthened by your experiences. What if there's something you firmly disagree with about the current iteration of our shared values? Do you belong here? Most likely you do. This faith challenges you to first look within yourself and try to better understand where your beliefs and where those triggers are coming from. Perhaps you may discover that something you believe in wholeheartedly is simply a defense mechanism you needed to survive in an earlier part of your life. But upon further inspection, you realize that belief is no longer serving you. But what if you conduct that personal exploration and you still disagree? If you are willing and able, share those disagreements with others. You should find people here willing to challenge your assumptions and perhaps help you to expand your beliefs. And you may also find some people here that agree with your alternative perspective and are willing to join you in an attempt to change something that the rest of us have simply been taking for granted. Perhaps the world has changed around all of us, and our collective perspective would benefit from your challenging. If you feel compelled to challenge our shared beliefs, you belong here. In fact, I think we need you here, especially today. Ours is not an easy faith. I've been rereading many authors I was introduced to in seminary to help me prepare as a faith leader in this tumultuous moment in history in which we find ourselves. One book that is really resonating for me right now is Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. This book takes an unflinching look at human nature and offers guidance on how to organize folks with potentially disparate beliefs into a community that has the capacity to confront the injustices it collectively sees in the world. One vital reminder Alinsky shares is the truth that each and every one of us, no matter how developed we claim to be, is primarily motivated by self-interest. Grounding our perspective in anything other than this truth, even if that truth feels really uncomfortable, is the only way that we can be sure that our assumptions remain grounded in reality. We like to call this a chosen faith. Many come through our doors because they found that the religion of their upbringing, including if they had no religion at all, was either against what their experiences told them was right or was failing to give them all the support they needed to face the challenges of the world. If you're willing to sit in discomfort from time to time because you ultimately believe that being here together with all these other folks that are here for our own self-interested reasons is ultimately the path to saving humanity, then you belong here. Ours is not an easy religion. To belong here is to be willing to engage in your work in community with others who are also doing their work. As long as you leave open even the tiniest sliver of space to allow your beliefs to be challenged, then you are not only welcomed here, you are needed here. Because it is in that space, that small opening of doubt that you are willing to keep open as a pathway to connections to others that see things maybe just a little bit differently than you, or maybe even a lot, differently than you currently do, enables you to contribute to our collective strengthening. At this moment in history, we cannot afford to turn away anyone that shares our basic values, even if their approaches don't sound exactly right to our ears. Purity politics will not serve us. Being unwilling to work to heal relationships that have been dented but are not quite completely broken will not serve us. Our faith is compelling us to widen the circle so that all can feel welcomed here. Thank you for continuing to welcome me here, to share what I've learned along the way in an attempt to help you find your own answers. This is never-ending work, and it is a privilege to be journeying with you in this community. I will leave you with an adapted meditation by Rumi that was set to music and has become one of our more familiar hymns. It speaks to the work of creating belonging spaces better than I ever could. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. And though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come, yet again come. You are each needed here, and you most certainly belong. Our closing words today come to us from Ma Teresa Gustillo Gallardo. We cast not our eyes below. We cast not our eyes below. We say to ourselves, we are how we came. Wounded from struggles, triumphant in our survival, entitled by birthright to belong to this only humankind there is, saying, I am included, I belong, I am here, and I will be and do. I will breathe joy into desolation, I will breathe peace into conflict, I will breathe life into destruction, I will be the earth I wish to see. I am growth and hope and glee. Beloveds, it's been wonderful to be here with you today. Directly after the service, a few minutes, we'll get some coffee, we'll go to the bathroom and stuff like that. We have a new offering, which is primarily for new folks. If you're new here and like to spend some more time with me, asking questions, getting to learn a little bit more about our faith, we're going to be having some time together to talk about what I talked about or to answer any questions that you might have. This is part of a new thing that I'm working with membership on. We're trying it out. We're testing it out. We're going to have a series of these little sessions after service, led by different members of the community. So social justice will show up one week and talk to you about what they're doing. The family ministry group will show up one week, talk about what they're doing. And our hope is that over time, if you're coming and you're checking us out, you will go, hey, this is cool. This is what I want to become a part of, and you'll decide to join us. These sessions are also open to anybody that's been here, even if you've been here longer than I've been alive. You are welcome to come to this session and ask questions. And kids are even invited to come. Can I just get a quick show of hands to say who thinks they might want to join that session so that I can determine if I want to do it in here or in the classroom? Who might be willing to? Okay, got one. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Any takers? Wow, nobody wants to talk. Oh, you know what I forgot to? Oh, there's another one. There's brownies. You should come get the brownies. Okay. All right. Yeah, there we go. That's lesson. Bring food. People will come. All right. Thank you all very much for being here today. I hope you learned something. I know I am always learning something being in this community. Go forth, talk to your neighbors, find commonalities, and find ways to help heal this fractured world. Go in peace.